Here's to the finest crew in Starfleet.
When it comes to my crew, you won't get any argument from me.
This is a parody. Paramount owns the song.
Welcome to The Greatest Generation. It's a Star Trek podcast by a couple of guys who are just a little bit embarrassed about having a Star Trek podcast. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica.
And we have something to talk about, Adam, because not at the same time, not on the same day, you and I visited Enterprise D Bridge Actual.
Yeah, we did that thing where, to preserve, what is it, like leadership continuity or whatever, we can't go to a place together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We got to go separately and on separate days when we're talking about theme park visits like this.
Yeah, you were my designated survivor, and I yours, sir.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think if you're on social media and have ever tapped a star on a thing to do with Star Trek, you probably heard about the Universal Studios Hollywood Fan Fest Nights event that they were doing that included an experience where you get to go on the bridge of the Enterprise that they did for Star Trek Picard. And we both got to do it in the last few days.
Yeah, we both went in May. Tickets for this went on sale in January. And at the time, I wanted to ask what you were expecting then. Because all you had to go off of was a couple of pictures and then a cast, not a Star Trek cast member, but a cast member of the park in a uniform,
right,
gesturing. It seemed like it was going to be a live action thing. You'd be able to go to the bridge and hang out and see it, this being the Enterprise D bridge that was made for the third season of Star Trek Picard. I bought tickets thinking holy moly, I'm going to be sitting in some seats. I'm going to be hitting some buttons.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be fantastic. That was what I thought this was going to be.
You're mistaken. No way. We got you.
Yeah, the level of expectation I brought to this was basically zero because I have not had many theme park experiences since I was a small kid.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Have you ever been to Universal Studios?
I had when I was a kid. We did a family trip down to Southern California, and we did Universal and Disney.
That's a big week.
Yeah, it was a big week, and I remember the E.T. ride was new at Universal, and was I don't think my parents would have gone to Universal, but I'd seen lots of television ads for the E.T. ride, and I was like, we have to go to the E.T. ride. So, which I don't think is there anymore. But
I think there was a section of it in the park that was all gray.
Yeah, they just have to express love for it, and then it'll come back. But I went with a friend who happens to be named Adam, but not you.
It's a fake.
I went with my wife.
My wife would never. The level of theme park knowing aboutness of my friend Adam is very high, and specifically, he does. He goes to Disney. He's one of these. He's a person I marvel at. I think you're maybe closer to his end of the spectrum than mine in that he goes to tons of stuff. He goes to theme parks, he goes to concerts. He's been going to Coachella since the year it started and never missed one.
I know modern Coachella kids, in their 40s, God bless you.
He was a fun tour guide because he's done Universal so many times that his pitch was this is going to be horror nights in that there will be not haunted houses per se, but things on the model of haunted houses where you walk through and have an experience. And that turned out to be a very strong prediction.
Yeah, that's well put.
It wasn't just Star Trek. There was also a couple of anime things that I wasn't as familiar with that had events. There was Dungeons and Dragons. There was Back to the Future, and a bunch of different IP kinds of properties had events going on at Universal, and many of them not associated with Universal as a movie studio or NBC or whatever. So that was an interesting aspect of this. Like, I guess they license these things in.
Getting back to the expectation question, had you also gone to Star Trek The Experience in Las Vegas when it was going?
No, I never got to see that. And I have watched like the YouTube videos of the walkthrough of it. So I know a bit about what it was like.
I think that represents the hope that I had for this going in. I think your friend Adam had a much more accurate prediction when he talks about like the haunted house walkthrough. But I don't know about your night. My night was one of the hottest nights of the year. They should have called it FanFest Nights Hot. So hot.
Oh man.
I mean, it was like a 90-degree day in LA, like one of those 2-day pops where it was like, we were in the 70s. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
And then the park opens at 7 p.m. That's the night element. They close the park, get all the kids and folks out, and then they turn it over for this night's experience, and then they let you in at 7. And I got in pretty much at 7.
Yeah.
Started walking around.
We got in earlier than that. There was like a $20 add-on charge that you could do to get you in at 5:30, and we were so glad that we did that because they like everybody was getting kicked out, but most of the FanFest nights hot people had not gotten let in yet. So there was like an hour where we could just like walk onto rides and walk into the experiences without having to wait in line, really.
That's great. So when my wife and I arrived, like the first thing we wanted to do was like go straight to what you could just call Star Trek land, like the area where the Star Trek stuff was.
Yeah.
And the first thing that we saw was the Quarks Cafe setup, which was like a reskinned place where you could get food and beverage and cocktails. And then there was like another side bar where they sold just cocktails. And then in between those things, there was a kind of a boulevard where there was a command chair from the Enterprise D setup, and then kind of a banner.
Yeah, like a scrim that just had the back of the bridge printed on it.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the horseshoe. The horseshoe was represented physically.
Did you get yourself a picture? I got a picture.
I got a picture in the chair, and I mean, I thought that the photographer running that was doing a great job. He had like 4 stock poses that he walked everyone through, looking off heroically into the distance.
I did not get the benefit of a photographer. There were no photographers around on my visit.
Oh,
never saw one. Yeah.
Yeah. And he gave me like a business card with a QR code to scan and spend like $23 to get one JPEG.
Amazing. Yeah. Here I am, cropping the Waterworld ride out of the background of the photo that my wife took of me.
They definitely reused the sign from when they did the 10 Forward experience in downtown LA for the bar only. And I didn't go over to that, but I did eat at the Quarks Cafe restaurant.
We did very different things because I went to that bar first and then went to the restaurant last.
Oh, nice. How did the bar go? Were you impressed?
There were cocktails there that weren't available in the restaurant, so I'm kind of glad that we did that first. They were really pretty looking in the pictures. You had your choice of Seti Eel Margarita, which there was Romulan Ale, and then tea Earl Grey cold. Uh-huh. And my wife and I got the margarita and the tea Earl Grey cold. And maybe we'll do a little drink about what's in these things.
Okay.
So the Seti Eel Margarita is White Claw Premium Vodka, lime juice, pineapple juice, agave syrup, jalapeno syrup, and bitters, garnished with a fire electro dust rim, gummy Seti eel, and a light up cube. Ben, there were no light up cubes available for my drink. There were a bunch of upcharge stickers slapped on everything, like for premium Star Trek branded liquor, you could pay an extra $5. I'm no dummy. I asked about the upcharge and getting the premium liquor. They were like, we're all out.
Oh.
They didn't have any of that, but we definitely got this margarita, and then we got the tea Earl Grey cold, which is whiskey, Earl Grey tea, honey and lemon juice, topped with peach White Claw, garnished with a dehydrated lemon. And you could also get this hot, which would be an insane move on a 90-degree LA day.
Is the White Claw served hot in that context?
Must be.
That sounds lethal.
I had very few questions about the hot version of tea Earl Grey cold. The pictures show, like, the Bodum tea glass that Picard drinks out of for the tea Earl Grey, and then they have the Cedille Margarita glass, which is like a nice rocks glass, like a rounded rocks glass that you'd be proud to have in any home.
But they're not giving any glass things out at Universal, you know.
They certainly not. We got these in plastic Solo cups, definitely without a light up ice cube. The Cedille Margarita, very spicy, very piquant.
Wow.
And I was someone definitely expecting something too sweet with pineapple juice and agave syrup in there. But the jalapeno syrup really cut against that quality and made pretty nicely balanced drink. Same goes for the tea Earl Grey cold. I thought it was, as cocktails go, pretty good. And for how hot it was, I was just grateful to have a really cold beverage in my hand. My wife said the same thing. One thing we didn't realize until about 10 minutes later, we walked away from this experience, like, with tax and tip and whatever. This was like almost $50 for 2 cocktails.
Yeah.
And not in any kind of souvenir cup you can take home. Feeling like we got really kicked in the wallet here. But about 5 minutes later, we felt drunk.
That's what I call a wee drop of the creature.
These cocktails kicked, and in a way that made me feel like we got some value for our cocktail buying dollar.
That's good. I got the Canar at the Quarks Cafe. This was aged rum, pomegranate juice, black cherry syrup, and lemon juice topped with club soda and garnished with a black cherry gummy. And it was fucking rancid. A terribly balanced, way too sour cocktail that did not have a kick, did not serve value for money. And my buddy Adam got I forget what it was called, the Andorian something, and it was like very, very deep blue.
The deepest, bluest.
We got it on the promise of how blue it was, and it was also just undrinkable. Like, we did not finish either of the beverages that came to our table.
Ben, I took a picture of like the red, the orange, and the green like dispenser jugs in the cafe, and they're like label printer style Plomeek, Bajoran, Orion, like hilariously low rent.
These are those circulators that keep cold drinks moving, and like that's where the branding broke down. Basically, was just beyond the edge of the bar. We ordered a bunch of stuff from the food menu, and I have to say the Hasperat really surprised me. It was a sort of like a pork gochujang burrito, and we were kind of surprised that like almost all of these had Korean influences. All of the food items. Yeah, and it's like, is the implication of this that Koreans are aliens and that their food is so alien as to not be of this world?
Oh, I thought so. I thought that was the message.
Yeah, but the gochujang Hasperat was actually spicy, as Hasperat is reputed to be. I mean, it was like theme park spicy. It wasn't like go to a Thai restaurant and tell them to give it to you the way they eat it spicy. But it had some heat to it, and I was impressed with it.
Your spice tolerance, I don't think you would argue, is far higher than mine. I also got the Hasperat, found it incredibly spicy to the point of like needing to take a break from it. I thought it was intense and surprising for theme park food.
That was the only food item that was good, I would say. The others were fine to like actively revolting. We got the there was like a fritter.
We got the Vulcan fritters too. That was our second of 2 food orders.
It didn't really say what the fritters were. They were very mushroomy in flavor.
I had a big problem with not declaring what the fritters were made out of in any way. There was like a little like the V symbol for vegan or whatever.
Yeah.
Like next to the picture. I think you still have to say what they're made out of, right?
We were driving away and we're just like, so many people had to sign off on that being a dish. Like it's very unusual for me to taste food that I'm like, I will not eat this. Like if I spent money on it, I'm going to finish it pretty much. Like even if I don't like it that much. And I was like, I can't do this. This is actively disgusting me.
I finished all those fritters, I will admit. I mean, this is like the hummus plate that we've standardized when we go out on tour. Like the question of those balls was just, you can't do that in food service.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like it should be illegal. Like you got to know what's in the thing, right?
The mystery ball is not good. It's not a good situation.
Yeah. I mean, it was to the extent where my wife and I wondered did we misread it? Like, is there meat in this? Because it was such a specific facsimile of a grind of meat.
Yeah.
And the mushroom can sometimes read in that umami way as a meaty kind of toothsome thing. We're like, we don't know what this is. It could be one or the other or both.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. It was not good.
What else did you get?
There was a chicken sandwich on a blue bun. I didn't write down what the name of that item was, but
you're talking about the Andorian red bot sandwich.
Oh yeah. That was decent. You know, it was edible. It wasn't great. I thought it was a little underseasoned.
This is an herb marinated chicken breast served on a bao bun with garlic aioli, charred red onion, and arugula served with Andorian tuber root, which I think is just supposed to be fries. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna. The hit rate on a chicken sandwich at a theme park, I would say vanishingly low.
Yeah. And then we got the Klingon targ leg, which was just kind of like a Korean barbecue pork rib kind of thing over rice.
That looked pretty good.
It was good. I think that the problem I had with that one was that the portion was pretty skimpy. Like you only got 3 little ribs and each one had about a meatball or a Vulcan fritter's worth of actual edible meat on it. So,
and at $17, the Bajoran Hasperat was a far greater value, I thought.
Absolutely.
Ben, did you get the Cardassian dog? I saw many of these get ordered and eaten during my visit.
I didn't.
Cardassian dog is a flamin' hot Cheetos covered Korean style corn dog.
Oh, so the reason we didn't get this was that both of us saw the picture and didn't read the words and interpreted that as a loaded elote. And so we were like, we're not going to share an ear of corn. Like that's
you're not getting along that well.
Yeah, exactly. And
this thing was the size of a football. Like they said corn dog, but when these things went out, I could not understand how much was dog and how much was batter. It seemed excessive.
Yeah. I think it was good that this Quarks Cafe was pretty far from the Star Trek Red Alert experience because no food and drink allowed
Correct.
In the thing. And so we finished our meal and went over there and we stepped up to it. Ride closed due to technical difficulties.
No!
So we went over to the Dungeons and Dragons experience. Ride closed due to technical difficulties.
What happened?
I don't know. Then we went back to the Star Trek thing and it was open at that point.
Once you go through Star Trek Red Alert, you wonder what technical difficulties there might have been to cause a closure. Very few failure points to this system, Ben.
Right. By the time we got back, though, they're like, because it had been out of commission for half an hour or 45 minutes, some demand had pent up. And so we did have to wait in a bit of a line to get in. And my favorite thing about waiting in line was there was a guy with a pretty fancy like gimbal camera for his iPhone in line right in front of us. And he was live streaming to like 150 to 200 people. And and all he was doing was pointing the camera at the like flat screen TV that was playing the in character person giving you the safety message for the ride, and not focused on it. So you like and not skewing his exposure level so that the screen could be legible. So
it's one of the great things about spending so much for an experience in a giant crowd is getting phone guy doing phone things badly.
So yeah, we got in there. You get broken up into two groups. There's kind of two scrums of people going through Star Trek Red Alert at the same time. Were you in Group A or Group B, Adam?
I think I was in A, which was the left-hand side group.
Yeah, that was me. That was us.
All it ever means is what side of the bridge you walk.
Right.
By the time you get to the end.
Yeah. So yeah, you go through, and the premise is you're going to be visiting the Fleet Museum that was established in season 3 of Star Trek Picard. And you're going to be taking a shuttlecraft to get there, by which they mean to say you are going to be walking through a thing that you only realize later. Oh, that was supposed to be a shuttlecraft. Ah.
That you never stop for even a moment at the place known to be shuttlecraft was baffling to me. Yeah. Because you miss the transit. Like, this is something that Disney does really well on their Star Wars experience specifically. But like, yeah, you're in a line, but you're in a line engaging with the story already. And then there's a moment interstitially where you go from line to ride, which is very apparent, where you're given the story and the instructions for how things are going to work. That this was just blended from line to experience immediately was very jarring.
It was kind of all line, like because it's not a ride, because they, this is not a permanent emplacement. It is much more the kind of storytelling they do in the part where you're waiting to get on the Mummy ride or the Harry Potter ride or whatever.
But regardless of what your abilities are in like the construction of this experience, as a storyteller, like that beat is important. It's a transition. Yeah. So to go from line right into experience, like you were deprived of that switch that as a part goer or a person who's watching a magic trick or whatever, like you need that switch to happen mentally.
Yeah. I think the switch happened for me to the extent that it did when there was an actor in costume and in character telling us that we were looking out of the shuttle bay of the Enterprise D at, the rest of the Fleet Museum. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's a big screen. And then an anomaly happens visible out in space there. And for the rest of the experience, you're like walking through parts of the ship and being told that this is an anomaly that is affecting systems on the ship. And you walk from room to room, and there's like actors in character responding to that as though they are Starfleet people.
The actor portion of this experience, the best part of this experience. I thought they were so great. They did a thing with our crowd that I'm sure they did with yours, which was like they tapped their communicator to try to get help or to call for someone else, and they like gesture to someone in our crowd wearing a uniform with a communicator, and they're like, "Hey, are you getting anyone on yours?" like as an invitation to someone wearing the costume to participate. I thought that was magic.
It was great. I also thought they did not have a ton of space or budget for this. Clearly, this is a full-time theme park, so I imagine the back rooms that they have to build something like this out are pretty few and far between. But I thought that the kind of visual foreshortening stuff that they did to make it feel like you're going down the hallway into 6 Bay or into the engineering section was really well done. And like, it was genuinely really fun to be in like, oh, like this is the engineering section of the Enterprise. It's smaller than I imagine it probably was in real life. But they like did a really good job like making a miniature warp core and really good job making 6 Bay beds and stuff like that.
I want to say yes and no to that. I agree with almost all of what you said, but looking up and seeing busted black drop ceiling squares and then like taped gels to light fixtures.
Yeah.
I think you just got to do a little bit better than that. Like there was duct tape holding the drop ceiling together in some portions of this walkthrough. Like you have to do better than that. It doesn't matter if it's temporary. It's just low rent.
Adam, right before you get to the bridge, there was a kind of simultaneity of embarrassment, which was that we walked into the extra big turbo lift that they advertise as having been embiggened to accommodate tour groups at the Starfleet Museum.
It is very big.
And there's an actor in there. And I was like, I was kind of like off and on taking my phone out and filming little bits of the tour. And we stepped onto this turbo lift and the door to the bridge was open and the last of the previous group was filing out into the bridge. So like totally ruining the illusion that you're about to get on a turbo lift and go to a different floor.
Oh boy.
So one of the few points of failure that it did in fact fail on, but also I happened to be filming at this point and I didn't notice that the light had gone on my phone. Like the flash had turned on.
Oh no. It's like you're an old at a restaurant reading a menu.
I was so embarrassed. And the worst part, Adam, the actor portraying the Trill crew member asked me to turn it off in character.
Peter, open the doors to the bridge. Do you mind turning that light down?
Oh man, that's so rough.
So after this experience, I figured I would just record this and then walk into the ocean. I feel like I have to report back on my embarrassment, but now I have to end it all.
Are all of your photos and videos shot in such a way where they all look like the Flash fired?
I'm also changing from horizontal to vertical mid shoot every single time.
Perfect.
Eventually you do make it to the bridge of the D, and there's places that you can go and places that you can't. Like you can go up to the horseshoe and be up there in the back section, but you can't go into the area where the helm and the captain chairs and stuff are, because that's where storytelling is happening. And there's a bunch of actors talking about how this anomaly is in fact an alien that is as much like us, that is much more like us than we may have realized in the course of reacting to this emergency. It's just curious, and it wants to know more about who we are and what makes us tick.
Did you feel like this was a deception to arrive at the bridge and realize that, no, this is just a place for cast members to be, like, you don't get to be in that part? You're prevented from being there from a railing?
I didn't expect to be able to, like, sit in the captain's chair or anything like that. But
yeah. I didn't either. But I had hoped to be closer.
Yeah. I will say I was also just totally blown away at how much smaller it was than it is in my imagination. Like it is half the size of the space that I see when I watch Star Trek on television, and yet that's what it was. Like that is the set that they used to shoot those scenes.
Yeah, these were average-sized actors, and everyone on our tour group seemed like average-sized people. Like the scale of the thing really felt different in exactly the same way.
And I wonder if the number of people in the room also makes a difference, because there's probably 40 or 50 people in there, right? Like between the groups and the actors.
That was pretty packed.
So yeah, I mean, I was geeking out. I had a lot of fun getting to see it in person. But yeah, it's over so quickly. Like you walk through the next door and you're just like back out into the park and you're like, whoa, that was there's just a door into the bridge that is like unmarked.
Yeah.
That if you like could get by the guy with the windbreaker standing at that door, you could just walk onto the bridge at any time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. I mean, that was also my feeling. A real, that was it. It's over. It's over. But by the end of your Star Trek experience, Ben, at the end of Star Trek Red Alert, did you like it? Was it good?
I'm really glad I did it. I think that like I would have regretted the spend on the ticket if I hadn't had a full several hours of theme park hangs with my buddy on either side of it. We did the Back to the Future thing, and we did the D&D thing, and we did we did basically every ride that was open, which was kind of a surprise to me. I'm not much of a rides guy, but I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun just like doing the whole thing and getting a little Star Trek experience in there. Was a real treat for me and made me think like a more fleshed out, like fully realized ride is something that I would love to see in a theme park like that and would love to go to.
Right.
It also made me think a lot about the Star Trek convention and how like when you get those photo ops, like there's like a little 10 forward that you can go get your picture taken in or whatever. Like it's only ever that, it's never like the actual set built out and like full service. Like you can't step to 10 forward and order a drink at the convention. It's just there for a photo op. And it was interesting to see them like make a slightly more interactive version of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wished we'd like gone on like one of the press days and gotten a slightly more boutique tour of it. I feel like we would have had a better experience, but
yeah, they made it look fun. It seems like they had a fun time there.
It was cool to see. How about you? Did you like Star Trek: Red Alert?
I think as with so many things Star Trek related right now, I'm glad that it exists and it is better than not having it.
Yeah.
But something that my wife told me as we were walking through all of this stuff and when we finished with Red Alert was that like the enthusiasm that the fans had for this stuff was evident and everywhere and full of spending money.
Yeah, it was so funny to see like a guy in a monster maroon Star Trek uniform like wandering around in front of the clock tower from Back to the Future later on in the evening.
But she said, you guys deserve more than this. You deserve better, is what she said. And I don't disagree with that. Like, they're so close to making this great.
Yeah.
But it's like that last lap before the finish line of just like the final fit and finish, just a little bit more to make it be like an actual wow experience instead of like, oh, it's over. Like the difference between those two things is the difference between something that you overpay for and something that you remember like years afterward.
Yeah.
And I wish Star Trek was a franchise that just had more of that like recognized its own value, that recognized that like making an investment in itself is worthwhile because people come out, no matter what it is, no matter how shitty your blue chicken burger is, like people buy it because they love the franchise.
Yeah.
And these things open and they close and they don't last. And even when they're around, they're just fine. Like, thank you for this. But like, please, can I have some more? Is my feeling afterward.
Yeah, I dig it. Did you run into any friends of DeSoto while you were there?
I definitely got clocked by the cool kind of FOD that was like with their own people, like the sort of like like in Fight Club when when they recognize the Fight Club leaders, like when they're in the restaurant, they kind of get the what's up. I got a couple zups, but I didn't get any interactions.
I had a couple.
That's great.
Yeah, one of which was somebody. I wore my my Neelix in the Netflix logo font shirt.
Sweet.
And somebody was like, "Hey, cool shirt," and then was like, "Wait," and then like later came back and was like, "Hey, you're not Ben Harrison by any chance, are you?"
That's amazing. That I don't like that your shirt was more recognized than you in that interaction.
Yeah, I think that a lot of stimulus in that environment. A lot to look at.
Well, a lot to look at in our episode of Star Trek Enterprise today, Ben. What do you say we turn it on over to a review of it? It's Star Trek Enterprise Season 3, Episode 6. It's called Exile.
You're the captain, sir. You're entitled.
Not entitled to ramble on about something everyone knows.